Alright guys, this is Josh from Midnight Auto Repair coming back to you on part 2 of the Silverado. Forgive me for hiding in the shop today, but it's unusually cold and kind of rainy, so not conducive to doing an intro outside. Plus, we're where we need to be, so we're with the truck. So, the idea behind this video today is, you got your dirt cheap tow rig. You got it home, you got it running, now what? So, there's a reason that somebody let the thing go dirt cheap. Usually when they won't run is kind of the final straw. You know, they normally say, you know what, I spent enough money, I don't want to put any more money into it, blah, blah, blah. Get it out of here. And I did. You know, I went through, you guys saw my headlight video for Exito. I went through, refinished the headlights because, well, I want to clean up those and give them a good appearance. But going through this, I always start tail to tip. You know, if everything's bad back there, there's no point in looking under here. So started back there, got some burned out taillight bulbs, minor, you know, few dollar repair. I'm going to go through, you're going to watch me service the rear differential, the transfer case, and probably a few other little things along the way. I'm going to do the front differential too, because this thing's got 220,000 miles on it, and everybody knows to change their oil, but nobody really thinks of any of the rotating bits underneath. You know, like check the U-joints to see if they're all worn out, if I got to replace those, because GM, you actually have to heat up the area where it sits in there because it's epoxied in. And when you do that, you'll actually watch a little nylon tail come shooting out of the thing, and then you can pop the U-joint out of it. We are going to go under, and we are going to do under the hood too, but probably not in this video. But we've gone through and we've got signs that this thing was kind of driven to the point where nobody really cared anymore as long as it works, because you got serpentine belt that's all cracked, and even the AC belt, that thing looks scary. Like, it's cracked and split. It's probably the original. But I guess stay tuned, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right out from underneath this thing, and we're just going to pop the diff cover off of it and see what that looks like, because I'm assuming it's been in there for 220,000 miles, but you know, I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than sorely disappointed. So stay tuned. Alright guys, you're joining me here under the Silverado, under the back of it, and we're going to go over some quick things just to look at before I get into this, because I don't want to waste too much of your time, but I want to show you guys. So, we're under the truck here, and you can definitely tell this thing has had a life long before I got to it, but there are some signs that it didn't spend all of its life here in North Carolina, or if it did, it spent a lot of time in the mud. Like, you start looking up at cross members. These are notorious for these cross members rotting out, and you can see there's no spare tire carrier under here, because that's also alleviated itself of duty. And we've got this cross member here that's already rotten and torn in that section. And I'm debating on if I pick up a piece of like 3-inch exhaust pipe or something and just cut out a window and fix that. But the rest of it's pretty good. You start looking at the cross members for the bed itself, and you can see it's spent some time in the dirt, and they're a little rusty and crusty. But at some point, we're going to go through and we're going to either fluid film this thing, or we're going to do some kind of wool wax based undercoating, because rubberized undercoating, if you see it on a truck, especially up north, run, because chances are it's hiding a whole lot of ugly stuff. Like, guys who will do rockers with it, guys who will do frame repairs, and then just hose it down with that stuff. Because, you know, a grinder and paint makes me the welder I ain't, is usually the situation there. So you're looking at something that's already been scabbed together. Wool wax, on the other hand, whether it's fluid film, whether it's PFC, whether it's, you know, New Hampshire wool wax, you know, New Hampshire undercoating, all this other stuff, they are lanolin-based products, which means they're wool wax. Wool wax is nice because it breathes. So if, say, a stone comes up, chips it, it will self-seal back together again, and if moisture gets under it for some reason, it can evaporate. It's a really good product, and there's a lot of people who've tested it with positive results. So that's down the road. But today, we are going to start here at the rear differential. And the rear differential, because this actually has a limited slip. This is a 342 gear with the G80 limited slip rear option. And most times, people forget about these. They forget about the transfer case. They forget that there's rotating bits underneath that still need lubricant. And, you know, when they say it's a lifetime lubricant, lifetime assumes 100, maybe 150,000 miles under normal use. Less if it's severe use. But this has 220 on it, so we're long past it. So I'm going to be servicing all the fluids in this thing, and a lot of the mechanical stuff, because CV axles in the front are all torn up. Somebody put a wrong wheel bearing on it. It's lived a life. But the other thing that you are going to see me use are a lot of the Valvoline products. And I buy all these myself. Valvoline doesn't give me nothing. Valvoline, you know, it's just one of those things where I started working at a store where we dealt with Valvoline products years ago, and I've used them since because they've always proven to be really good. The other thing that's nice about this one is already comes with the limited slip additive in it, so I don't have to buy an extra bottle of anything. Sure, it costs a few bucks more, but I mean, in the end, I'm probably, unless something bad happens and an axle seal starts leaking, I'm not going to be changing it out. The other nice thing is, look here, you can see the shocks. I'm eventually going to put rear shocks on it because you can tell that those things have been leaking for a while. But the one thing I don't see leaking is rear axle seals. Both the rear backing plates are dry. So there's good news in all this. And if you guys ever wonder where the fuel pump driver module is on one of these, it's right under the bed. And part of me getting this running was pinning this out and checking everything. So yeah, it's right there. Well, let me get this camera set up where we can watch me, and we'll get that diff cover off. I've got a new electric impact. Yet again, nothing that was given to me. I paid for it, so I'll tell you one way or another whether Robust True makes a good half-inch impact or not. I have nothing to lose, nothing to gain. But for, I think it was a $20 off coupon, so I got that thing for like 69 bucks on Amazon with 2 batteries, the charger, and the whole 9 yards. So, well, let's see what it'll do. But let's get it set up. I'll start getting this thing off. They're really simple. You just take all the bolts out. I always leave 1 or 2 on the top and just loosen them, because whenever you pop the bottom of this, you don't want it all just to flow out at once. You want to kind of control the disaster as it's oozing out. So I'll show you that. Just hang loose. Alright guys, so we're going to start pulling the diff cover. I'm just going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So it's already starting to look kind of ugly, so let me get you in for what this is going to look like coming out. Ooh. I'm going to venture and say that was probably the original fluid. Whew. Man, one thing I hate about gear lube. Stinks like a dead otter. But there we go. That's why you always leave that bolt in the top, is that way it doesn't just come bloof and sploosh out of there. And now let's see here. Doesn't look terrible in there. Or actually in the differential itself, but man, that fluid is just blackened. Well, that makes me feel better, because that means that this thing was absolutely and positively due for a service. So let me get in here and I'll get this thing cleaned up, and then I'll show you how to fill these things up, and then we'll move on to the next one. So hang loose. All right, guys, so we're back. Went through, brake cleaned the inside of it out. You guys can debate on, in my comments section, whether you clean everything out or you just drain and fill. I always clean everything out, but got everything back together. Gray RTV around these. Don't use black if you can help it. I mean, something's better than nothing, but gray is actually designed for gear lube. But we got these the flex fill pouches here, and the nice thing about these is whenever you're done with them, you can go get you the actual plastic bottles of like the Valvoline stuff and just pour them into this, and it makes it so much simpler than trying to find the little fill tube they sell you, or like a pump or something. As you see, for the most part, that was that whole bottle right there. I like that. But ooh, sounds like a night after Taco Bell. But yeah, how much less drama was that? Just squeeze, pour, and done. I'm gonna fill this, and then we're gonna get to the transfer case. So hang loose. We're working at it little by little. All right, guys. Now we're through the differential. Now we're working on the transfer case. Now on the GMT, I've seen it on the 800s and the 900s where nobody changes the fluid, and next thing you know, the timing chain, or not the timing chain, but the transfer case has a chain in it. And I've actually seen that wear through the entire side of the case. Next thing you know, there's fluid everywhere. And you're probably spending, well, if you have a shop do it, you're probably looking at about $1,000 to have that replaced. So what's cheaper, fluid or actually having to replace the entire transfer case? So guys, I'm going to see if I can't get a good image of where we're at here. And now I'm actually doing this on the ground, on the floor. Your results may vary depending on your, how should I say, state of fitness. Because I don't have this thing up in the air to do this. I literally just am doing this on the ground. So let's see here if I can get to an area where you guys can see what we're doing. And what we're doing is we are going to drain the transfer case. Now I have a little pump for this thing to actually fill the case whenever it's done, but you're going to use an 18mm wrench, and I always crack the fill port first, just to make sure, first off, everything's going to come free, and second, what I hope to see is I actually hope to see fluid running out of this when I pull the plug out, because it tells me that the transfer case is still full. If I don't get fluid coming out of it when I pull it out, it could be low. You see, it was full. You also see that the color that it is is also kind of a brownish red. And remember, there's no real clutch packs to burn up in here, so it's not coming from carbon or any sort. It's literally the fluid itself just being absolutely burned out of this thing. So let's see what we got when we pull the drain plug. Should be about 2 quarts in here. Whew. Whew, you guys see the porcupine on the end of that thing? This is why we change fluid, because, well, that's not good. But it's not terrible. I mean, it's to be expected. But still, that's a lot of metallic sludge on that thing. And that fluid is brown, not red. So that tells me that that potentially could be the original fluid in this thing too, at 220,000 miles. That's why I keep reiterating, is the fact that 220,000 miles, you should be changing your fluids every 100, if not 150. You know, I mean, everybody's got their own idea of scale. To me, oil's cheaper than hard parts, so I'd much rather spend 29 bucks on a gallon of like Valvoline Max Life here than I would have to go to the junkyard and replace this thing, because it's not a cheap unit to begin with. And then if you don't have the proper facilities, like say you don't even have a little tent like I got here, you're paying a shop to do it, and they're probably going to charge you at least $1,000 if they have to get the transfer case too. So guys, fluids cheap, maintenance cheap, breaking shit expensive. Just remember that. But I'm going to clean the porcupine off of this and at least try to find a way to make my little cheap pump fit the Max Life top, because they're not the same. So hang loose. I'm going to get this set up. There we go. Now it's full. And now I trust that it's full. Let this thing drain out. And then I can throw it in the garbage where it belongs. Performance tool. You get exactly what you pay for. No performance with the tool. But it was enough to get the job done, so I guess in the end, can I complain? Of course, but it's done. So next we're going to move on to I'm trying to figure out what other service I want to show you right now, because I'm probably doing this over a series of days. So yeah, we'll see what I end up showing you. If I know the transmission's going to get a drain and fill, I know that the manifolds are going to get dropped off this thing and the studs are going to get extracted. I know that we're going to go through and we're going to do the serpentine built. We're going to go through and we're actually going to make sure that this thing is all serviced up and ready to go, because I got revivals to do and I really want to use this truck to go do them. So I guess stay tuned for the next part, whatever I decide to show you. So yeah, hang loose. Alright guys, so I'm going to give you one last one here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do the front differential, because I think I can get to it pretty quickly here, walk you guys through it, and we're going to call this a video. But hopefully you've enjoyed what I've showed you so far. If you're not informed, at least you're entertained. But this is all the stuff that you really should do on a truck that you've picked up, especially if it's stupid cheap, because you don't know how that thing was maintained. You don't know if they maintained it at all. I mean, this was a fleet vehicle at the beginning of its life, and clearly we're seeing fluid, we're seeing stuff that is original, which means that it doesn't always mean anything that it was a fleet vehicle. And then it was probably, how should I say, loved hard and put away wet many a time by the succeeding owners until it got here. It's had ball joints done on the front. You know, crawling around here, you can actually see the lower ball joints say Moog on both sides. What I have questions about is, and this is why you always look them over. What is that? That is 2 nuts holding on the upper control arm. And I'm trying to figure out if somebody stripped a nut and they put another one on there to lock it, or what, because that's terrifying. So that's probably going to be part of the next, I'm going to do the front end video. So yeah, this is why we shake things down and look them over. And then of course on both front CV axles, they're torn. But I'm going to show you on these. Most people forget that the front differential exists until they have to put it in 4-wheel drive, but it does spin along with everything else, so fluid tends to go bad. And they're really, really simple, but nobody thinks of them. So what we're going to do is we are going to, I always try to crack the top one free, which may require some assistance because then it lets it breathe. Also, it lets you know that you can, so you can fill it up. But hang loose. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you real quick. That's the high side fill port. And that's why we have bagged fluid, because it's less than fun to try to get fluid back into. So that's why we have those bags. But down here is the lower bolt. I'll show you the fluid draining, and then I'm probably going to cuss and swear and call it a video. I just wanted to show you guys because I know some people like seeing the nasty fluid come out, and for me too, this is a nice record of how bad was this vehicle before I got it. So let's see what drains out of here, because I can only expect that it's going to be black ooze. I actually cleaned the pan too, that way we can actually get a good visual on what this looks like, because I'm willing to bet that this one's never been replaced. No, it hasn't. And it's awfully, it's not terrible, but it's awfully metallic-y looking. And hey, look at the porcupine on the end of this thing. Yeah. 220,000 miles. I'm willing to bet that's been in there. It's always worth doing fluids, guys. But I'm gonna leave this here because I don't think you guys care to see me put fluid back in it. This is Josh from Midnight Auto Repair coming back to you saying, I thank you guys for watching this video. And if you made it to the end, give me a like, give me a comment, tell me I'm good, tell me I'm a jerk, whatever. Just let me know. Guys, have a wonderful day.